Hey guys, how you going? Brad here from BGVC. Today I have here a brand new FX6. This camera has been out for a couple of years now, but it's still on back order. I think everywhere here in Australia it was around a 2-month wait, which is actually not too bad. I kind of anticipated maybe a little longer. This is the equipment that I got with it. A couple of lenses, some audio, some batteries. I thought, well, I'm gonna unbox it. Why not do a quick video? Because I want to talk a little bit about why I got it, what it's replacing, which is obviously going to be given away in the title. I figure rather than put some redundant B-roll to it, I would just talk about it while I open it. For the last couple of years, I've been shooting on a Panasonic EVA1 with an S1H, which I'm filming on now. The EVA will always have a special place in my heart. It's so bittersweet to replace that camera, but I've been working on my documentary Still Standing for the last couple of years now, coming up 3 years. In those controlled environments, when you can set up your lighting and you can get everything how you want it, the EVA1 makes a perfect camera for interviews. I've used it a lot for corporate work as well. Getting towards the tail end of the film and needing to travel a little bit more interstate to get the last few bits and pieces done, taking the EVA started to become a problem because I'm traveling on my own, I'm working on my own, and I'm also trying to run interviews and interact with talent. Operating an EVA when you're solo shooting and you're trying to conduct interviews, when you don't have autofocus and you need to make sure you don't underexpose the image, it started to become a real problem for me. I basically got to the point where it was undeniable I needed a camera that's got reliable autofocus for those occasions. The documentary is about the pinball and arcade industry, and some of it is run and gun. I did try a camcorder, and it's very hard to go from cinema camera or like the S1H, a full frame sensor, to a tiny sensor camcorder. I did buy one 6 months or so ago, and it was very unfulfilling. I returned it within a couple of weeks. It was awful. So to me, the FX6 is somewhere in the middle where I can set it up like a run and gun camera and count on the autofocus for on the fly sort of interviews. So let's talk about what I got here, because it costs a fair bit. I'm probably out of pocket $15,000 swapping over. Obviously the EVA is EF mount, so all of my lenses are EF mount. Even on the S1H, I use EF mount. I did buy the 24-70 Lumix lens, thinking that maybe I would have usable autofocus in video mode, and it isn't. With that being said, I knew that moving over to the Sony, I was going to need to buy Sony lenses. A, because I want to utilize the best possible autofocus within the camera, but B, a little bit of a quirk that I didn't really know until after I ordered the camera. My understanding is that if you use a crop sensor lens, which some of my favorite art series lenses, the Sigma 18-35 and the Sigma 50-100, given that they're for a smaller sensor, the FX6 won't actually allow you to shoot in 4K on those lenses. That's the quirk that I understand. Nonetheless, I didn't want to risk it, and plus I wanted to put native glass on this camera, because if I'm going to spend the money upgrading to a system that's got reliable autofocus, I should feed it the lenses that it is designed to work with, not run it through a bunch of adapters. So the things that I purchased was the FX6, the 24-105, pretty standard sort of lens. It was recommended to me. The Sigma Art 35mm 1.4, a couple of extra large batteries, the shotgun mic. Even though I've got quite a few Rode mics, I just thought, look, if I'm going to get Sony, I might as well just get the one that was semi-recommended for the FX6. Look, I don't have high hopes for this thing, but you never know. I think it's one of those things I'm going to mount it onto the camera so that when I've got the main lav set up, which is the Sennheiser kit that I've just got here, I'm basically have been using for lavs the Go-2s, and for the main microphone with the EVA, I would use the NTG3 overhead mic. Awesome audio. The Go-2s are great for, like, you know, jobs and social media stuff, but the EQ footprint's quite different to the NTG3, so I'm hoping that this will give me a fuller sound to start with. So these are obviously can go XLR in straight to the camera. This can go XLR in straight to the camera. So basically I plan on having this mounted at all times, this on with the talent, and I have been in situations where I'm interviewing the main subject and then someone else talks. Now, if they're not wearing a lav, you're just basically trying to get a bit of spill, but it's not good. So they'll live on the camera. This is basically going to be set up completely for run and gun. When I purchased all this, I did actually get an FX3 at the same time, and I'm not going to go into that too much. I don't have it anymore, I sold it. So I planned on building around the FX6, and I was going to have FX6 with an FX3 as my B camera and replace the S1H, but pretty quickly I found that if the S1H covers this, and the FX6 covers this. I needed the FX3 to be here, but it's more like here. If the S1H is good at this stuff, meaning that it's got amazing in-body stabilization, an amazing slow motion engine, a lot of my shots, I'll quickly get some nice slow panning, non-stepping B-roll shots. I do have a gimbal, an RS2, DJI RS2. Obviously I have that, but sometimes you want to just get a quick shot. The Panasonic S1H is incredible for that, the level of stabilization it has, and that's what I needed the FX3 to do. But the FX3 actually turns off the active stabilization when it's in slow motion, and it already has less stabilization than the S1H, and therefore it just wasn't usable. You needed to use a gimbal, and even when on the gimbal, I personally still didn't find it to be steadier than the S1H in VFR, slow-mo, crop sensor, doing these little shots, little ditties around the top of a marquee of an arcade cabinet or something like that. That's a lot of what my B-roll is. So for me, the FX3, as great as it is probably something that would be more suited to replacing if you didn't want to go all the way for an FX6. You know, you got the top handle audio and whatnot. So I sold that, and so I'm gonna be running with the S1H and the FX6. It's only just arrived today. I've never actually held one. I haven't seen one in person. I'm basically coming from an EVA to this, and yeah. Now, I'd heard it was kind of small and light, and yeah. Fuck, it is light, wow. It's very light. Yeah, so there she is. There's probably not much point me going on too much further in this video. I just wanted to basically chat a little bit about why I'm moving towards an FX6. I'm gonna be pairing it with the S1H. I think the color sciences in both cameras are a lot more matchable than they probably were 5-6 years ago. A lot of the colors now from your main players in this sort of level that I'm in, getting more neutral and getting more comparable. Even shooting an EVA and an S1H on the second angle, yeah, they're similar, but they still need different tweaks. So, I mean, if you can't chuck an adjustment layer, a grade layer over the whole thing for your multicam interviews, you still need two colors. What's the difference if I'm doing a little bit more tweaking or the same amount of tweaking so that I can have A camera and B camera? To me, I don't think there's really much difference. And the S1H just wasn't this time. And the S1H is just too valuable to me in my workflow for this film and for a lot of the work I do, like client jobs and stuff that I do. I think I'm still at the stage now where if I could only have one camera, it would be the S1H. Bear in mind, I haven't used this yet, obviously. This is literally the first time I've opened it, but I was a die-hard GH5 fan for years, loved that camera, just didn't find a camera that I liked better until the S1H come out, and it was everything I loved about the GH5 better. Anyway, this is my new Sony setup. I've had a little bit of a pause from filming the doco. I got the last little bits and pieces to go now. The documentary is called Still Standing. If you haven't checked it out, the trailer, please check it out. It'll be coming out late 2022, early 2023, depending on how I can get it out. I'm not sure yet. I'm at the stage of just focusing on making it good. But yeah, wish me luck. I'm excited to use the FX6. From what I've seen, it's an incredible camera. I know a couple of guys that use them and they have nothing but amazing things to say about the camera. I will always love the EVA, and shit, man, I might even pick one up again. I sold it now because I don't want too much gear, but I don't know, man. I fucking love that camera. I just love that camera. Anyway, that's my story of why I'm going from the Panasonic EVA1 to the FX6. Maybe I'll report back in 3 to 6 months and see how they're going together. And hopefully it's a great little combo that works for what I'm doing. Thanks very much, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.